Hello and welcome back to the channel. Little bit of a change in direction at the moment. I have had a little bit of an accident. I've nicked the back of my knuckle with an angle grinder, managed to go through the tendon. But yeah, I've had surgery and hopefully I'll have a speedy recovery. Over the past several weeks I've realised I haven't really gathered much, well, any material, because of current projects on at the moment. It's not really justifying me getting a camera out, so I've just been cracking on with work. And what I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going through the archive on my phone, going through all the old photos previously to me actually videoing what I was doing. I was taking photos every day, and just cataloguing exactly what I got up to every day. And yeah, I ended up with quite a lot of photos on my phone. I've got quite a lot of video footage as well, some of which has never been seen. This first project is the C19. I did this maybe 5 years ago now. It's currently sat in the container at work awaiting a customer. On the website it's currently up for sale, even a reduced price for the spring sale, so head over there and check it out. I'll a little bit of a video clip showing you the website in a second. But yeah, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and enjoy the video. Okay, so if you head over to www.steamworkshop.co.uk, when you get there, at the top of the page you'll see a for sale, and you can go down to the rail, and this is all in size order. So down at the bottom are the larger engines, and the C19 is there. There's a whole plethora of photographs, some really nice ones taken by Simon, just showing all the detail of the locomotive, sometimes better than what I'm showing in my photos. And yeah, this is currently on sale, at a reduced price due to the early spring sale. Over in our projects gallery, the C19 is project number 22, and that has a link to a YouTube video of us running it up and down the yard. So this is a series of pictures that were sent to us quite late in the process, unfortunately, as I'd already figured out where most of the things go. But this locomotive was initially built for Littlehampton Miniature Railway at 12¼ inch gauge. When we received it, it was completely torn down, so it was just boxes and boxes full of bits, and we regauged it to 10¼ inch gauge. That led on to a few issues in the build. Some of the bracketry was cut out when it was regauged, so I had to kind of figure out where everything went. But a little bit of forensic engineering and we managed alright. Had to lift the boiler by 40mm due to the regauging. The boiler would no longer fit in between the back-to-backs of the wheels, but nothing a bit of steel couldn't fix. And then it was a case of learning. This was my apprenticeship. This was me learning everything about steam engines, and the majority of the stuff on this engine I did myself, even down to learning how to use a lathe and a milling machine to fix some of the parts that needed fixing. Lots of welding went on, lots of engineering, and it was a really good process. And yeah, I think we turned out a cracking engine. So modifications of the tender were the first thing I really got my hands on with the C19. A lot of plate work needed to go in. The back plate got added to separate the rear portion of the tender to the front. Some new flat plates going on top of the two raised sections on either side of the seating area. The gap in the middle is going to be for the battery. Then the sides were chopped off and moved forward about 6 inches. New plate welded in, handbrake relocated further forward. Then it was a case of chopping a hole in the bottom of the tender. So what we wanted to do was create a sump for the water, because the water is always going to find the lowest point. So bringing a sump in, it enables us to control the water flow better. So just a square box welded in, job's a treat. Next modifications are adding some slide plates. The bogie pivots were the only thing attached to the bogies. There was no control over the side movement, so blocks were added to the bogies, slide plates added to the frames, and there are grease nipples in them to enable you to lubricate. We then raised it a further 4 inches after this, not 4 inches, sorry, 40mm after this, due to the difference in height between the frame on this and the frame on the engine. So we added some rubber blocks and some spacers on top of the bogie pivot to enable us to sit that little bit higher and be better in line with the locomotive. From there it's on to more plate work, so built some coal rails around the coal portion, made some new lids, one for the inside of the coal area where it's a lid through to the water and a new lid on the back with a new filler spout added. The lid on the filler spout is actually off of the sandbox, so I'll put that back on its sandbox eventually and then build a new lid. Underside was coated with an oil based underbody seal. Inside and out it was all primered, fillered, sanded, further 2-pack primer prior to a lick of paint on it. Now initially we painted it black in the thought that we were going to go with the black paint job on the locomotive, but we ended up going for green. It was painted again at a later date. Onto the seat, it's memory foam on plywood, and I only had enough vinyl really to cover most of the seat. I ended up having a 4-inch strip up the middle. Really does look nice. A wooden duckboard to go into the footwell just adds a sexiness to the tender, and yeah, it looks really good here. Nice little bit of oak detail in behind the seat. This is the plywood just with a strip of veneer on it. Really does set it off nicely. Cracking looking tender. So one of the first things we did with the C19 was we lifted the boiler by 1.5 inches. Thus we required a new ash pan to create a lot more space for the ash beneath the fire grate, and also incorporating a couple of new features. So we've got flaps in the rear and flaps in the side to allow the raking out the fire from the sides, and a damper on the rear to control the burn of the fire. Now it's probably 3 times bigger than the original in regards of volume. There's a nice taper at the sides to direct ash into the middle. We actually pipe steam into the front to allow us to wash out the ash pan as well, and that's all part of the plumbing. The original flange off the top of the original ash pan was chopped off using the plasma cutter, which is a cracking tool. It's the first time I'd used a plasma cutter on this one, and yeah, it worked out lovely. Welded it onto the new ash pan. The flaps sit perfectly on the bottom of the frames there, so the raking out of ash is available. And yeah, I think this is much bigger, much better, and a cracking addition. Okay, so due to us having to raise the boiler by 40mm to allow the boiler to sit in between the wheel sets, a lot of plate work had to be redone. So here we have got the base of the chimney saddle, and it's raised up behind and plated over. There's also on the foot plate we've got an insert plate, and then we've got 2 step-up plates for either side, left and right of the cab. We have got right hand side cut out for the reverser and the drain cocks, and here we have the 40mm step up that I'm putting into the sides of them. Here it's unrolled, and then in this next picture you can see it in place, so you can see the step that we've got here. Underneath there's a small tab welded on. That is so we can attach this step up to the angle that is at the rear. Onto the front foot plate. This is stepped up by 1 inch from the original location. Added some angle around the rears to attach the cab to. Here you can see it all nicely tacked on. Foot plate, or front foot plate, has been sculpted, so it starts in at the smoke box and manoeuvres out to where we're going to have the buffer beam going out to. And yeah, I think that looks lovely. Running boards, there's new brackets made to put them at the height we want them at. Nice sexy shapes for the front, and then just simple angles for the rear. Here you can see them both next to each other. And yeah, we got a height difference between the foot plate, the running board, and then the foot plate, the sides of the foot plate, and then the running board. It's a step sequence. Onto the boiler we've got crinolines being added to space the cladding off the boiler. We went for new cladding on this. Cutouts in the top for the sandbox and the steam dome, and also cutouts to go around where the gauge glass fittings go onto the back head. Onto where the valves are. These are the blowdown valves, so nice little cover plates for where the valves come through the floor. the handles actually get replaced at a later date with some wooden scales. Engine didn't have any handrails, so made up some handrail stanchions, added them to the end of a piece of bar, and then tacked the stanchions to the boiler. Then we end up having to cut out the holes in the cladding to suit. And onto the rear part of the cladding. This was a little bit trickier fit. I had to go buy some new clamps because it was so wide. But yeah, got quite a technical shape here, and the cladding is then screwed to the crinoline. Add in the pipework here so we can see where everything runs through the gap in the cab sheet, and then we will be actually going on to create some infill panels where the square edges are in the front cab sheet. I'm going to make some infill panels to tidy all that up, and these are going to be painted body colour. So there you can see how the handrail mounts into it, and on the bottom just a little infill which will actually get screwed into the side of the running board, as you can see here. Yeah, all looks good. So that brings about the end of this episode. Check back next time for more progress. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.